Hurricane, a tidal wave, essence perfect, life looks radiance, give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You're firing me, yeah, you're firing me, You've got me hypnotized, push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. Whoa. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my hand again. Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the ground. I've got no shelter, I've got no escape. My life is a prison and I can't run away. I feel it in my bones, I'm losing it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first night of the Great American Bash post show. This is NXT Great American Bash Ladies Night Edition. I am, of course, Oled, not lady, but still here anyways. And I'm joined by my tag team partner, the one and only, the natural Astrid Pizarro. Astrid, how you doing today?
I don't even know how to describe it, but at least NXT made me feel a little bit better. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a weird week. It's been a funky week. We didn't get to do the Ant-Man review that we planned on doing on Wednesday. I had to leave the Deadpool review midway through. It's been a funky week, let me tell you. So let's see if I can make it through this whole review without having something bad happen.
No.
What did you think of Great American Bash Night 1?
I feel like a lot happened for the 2 hours it was. I forgot what happened around the 9 p.m. mark, and I thought, wait, it's only been an hour and all this had happened. I think it might have been that. And I saw it and I was like, dang, there's still this, and that. And I was like, how are they going to fit all this in 1 hour? But they did very well.
So we start with Hank Tank sneaking their way into the Performance Center to host the Great American Bash. But then my girls are on TV. The Unholy Union takes on Metaphor. Astrid, I want you to give me your in-depth thoughts after watching every moment of the action here. Because we're going to come back to people watching every moment of the action to the guests later on in the show.
You're terrible. Well, first thing I will say, I'm glad the Women's Tag Team Championships are actually in NXT for once. Hey, cue the cheering for once. Okay, I hope we can do that for an edit later. Yeah, that's the first thing. Is like I'm glad that we do have the Women's Tag Team Championship being defended in NXT, and seeing the way it's been with Jakara and Lash. I know even though they've been a team for a while, And you think about the aspect we haven't seen them like match wise in a while as a tag team, but at the same time they've been together for a while at this point as a team. It's like it was about time they got that shot. So I'm really glad it was them of all people. I feel like they did really well with the Unholy Union though. I'm glad it was the opener because I feel like it kept the energy up from what was going with the pacing of it. And I like what the girls were doing. It's like I feel like I wish I could have seen more of it though. That's the only thing. But I enjoyed it. I knew it was the beginning, so it shouldn't last too long in that aspect either, because it's the beginning of the show. We got a lot more going on to get through. But again, it's like I wish it was a reason why we could get a rematch, because I wanted to see more and I want to see it again if I could, and have them be in NXT again. I love the welcome back chance that the ladies got for coming back and being here to defend the titles. I did also want the intro to be completely done. The intro didn't get completely done. I don't know. I don't like when that gets interrupted, but they had to get the advantage that they could at that point as well. But again, I feel especially Jakara that it's. I don't want to. She has a little bit less experience than Lash. You don't see her wrestling as often, so it's nice to see her in the spotlight as well.
I felt like, contrary to your opinion here, I felt like this match exposed Metaphor greatly. I felt like they were greatly exposed in this match, that they're not the well-oiled and talented machine that we've been talking about them being. I feel like the step up in competition made them... It made it noticeable that they were developmental talent. I like Jakara. I like Lash more and more every week. I know I'm not the biggest Lash Legend fan. Everybody knows this, but I was impressed a little bit. They went out there and they did it, but I didn't think it was the greatest performance they've had. I was a bit surprised that it wasn't as good a performance as it was, and it might just be the fact that they had to step up in competition. The higher the gap gets between who you're in the ring with versus, who's in the ring with you, can sometimes be a gap that not everybody's talented enough to do. And as talented as Alba and Isla were, they carried the matches about as best they could. But it wasn't the worst women's match of the night. We'll get to that. We'll get there. But I thought it was a good way to open the show. The Unholy Union retained the titles, as they had to when we found out they were defending the titles on Friday. It's like, oh, well, let's just take all the, pomp and circumstance out of this match and just know for a fact that Lash and Jakara aren't winning.
That's another thing that I hated about this match, is just the fact that having that championship match on Friday almost feels like it gives the away with the winners for this one. And even though we feel like Jakara and Lash probably were not going to win anyway, but I don't like kind of being given that in a way, given the result like that. And being that the pay-per-view got extended now and we have a 3-hour pre-show, you couldn't put that women's tag team championship match on the pre-show at least, or at least on the card. Extend the card to make it start earlier, and you can put that match in there.
You've got to sell SmackDown somehow. You've got to have stuff on SmackDown. I understand your point, and I agree with your point. However, for the first time in a long time, both women's singles championships are being defended on the exact same show. I think it's the first time since WrestleMania. And probably before that, it's probably the first time since the Rumble that both of those titles are being defended on the same night. I like shorter, more succinct pay-per-views. Could it be on the pre-show? Sure. I'm not going to watch it.
But it's not a short pay-per-view, though.
It will be. It'll be 3.5 hours most. At most, it'll be 3.5 hours.
Then why do you have a 3-hour pre-show, though, if you're going to do that? First, you have not only this match, but you have the men's, like the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match on SmackDown as well. And you have a 3-hour pre-show? I don't need 3 hours. One is enough.
Oh, nobody watches the fucking pre-show anyway. What does it matter what's on the pre-show?
Okay, but if you're going to give me a good match, of course I'm going to watch it. But if it's a whole 3-hour preview of just commentary, I'm not watching that. That's a different story.
That's fine.
But if you tell me,
watch it anyways.
Or if you tell me there are 3 hours, maybe the last hour has matches, that's fine with me too. I'll watch the last hour of it. But have 3 hours and no matches at all, that's the part I'm like, no.
Well, after the match, when Jakara and Lash are being consoled by Oro Mensah, who was at ringside for this match, Ethan Page comes out and cuts a fantastic heel promo. And he looks at Lash and Jakara. He's like, look, you guys did a good job, but you came up short. And I hope that next week the both of you will come out here to console Aura when he comes up short too. And Aura, I want to give you this look at my championship. It'll be the closest you ever get to seeing this championship. And he swings it and he misses. And Aura rolls him up. And 1, 2, 3, counted by Lash and Jakara. They really want to try to make us believe that Oro Mensah has any shot next week.
My favorite part about this, though, not only is the two ladies doing it at the same time, but the fact that the crowd is actually chanting it. And you're like, I like how the little things that are so simple is what the crowd's always chanting, from the yes chant to the yeet chant, and then now 1, 2, 3. And the crowd's actually doing this every single time since Ethan came out. They were chanting it. It just got higher and higher when it actually happened. And I love seeing that from the crowd. The fact that they can pick up those little things and chant them for those moments because they know it irritates like Ethan there as it's happening. I just love seeing that. And you can hear them going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so just seeing that, it's just like I love how it adds a little bit more to the segment too.
Yeah, it's going to be a match next week. It's going to happen. It was so important that we signed this contract. Honestly, I'm going to talk about it right now. We signed the contract backstage in Ava's office in a pre-taped segment.
That was surprising.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that it was done backstage in a pre-taped segment. My God.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that were poorly done backstage, we have Cedric Alexander talking to a bunch of rookies. And then Sean Spears comes over and says, Cedric, I could give you some insight, but you're just too hard-headed to listen. You're too hard-headed to listen. You don't have a moldable mind. And Cedric says something about having don't have a moldable mind. I don't have a weak mind. And Jensen comes from across the ring thing way in the back and comes storming around like Bull Buchanan, storming up there like B2 coming by, and he goes, "What did you say? What did you say? Did you say I had a weak mind? Me and you next week or tonight or whatever." And just going off. And Spears is like, no. We're gonna do this. Like, no, Cedric's like, no, we can do this. It's fine. And Cedric starts to say something else, and he's like, boom, cut to the next segment. I'm like, Cedric wasn't even done talking. Not that I want to hear what Cedric has to say, but he wasn't even done talking.
I was also surprised about this. I thought that we are going to announce this for next week because I feel like there was a lot going on this tonight that I thought they were going to say this is for next week. And then when I heard later on that it was for tonight, I was so surprised that happened too. It was like, oh, okay, we're going to keep adding it up to this night. And that's what made me feel like a lot happened in 2 hours. And this is what makes me feel like even WWE as a whole, I feel like NXT is the programming that takes advantage of their 2 hours the most. I'll say it here right now. It's only NXT because I feel like Raw has 3 hours and they waste time in so many things. But at the same time, we do have NXT that they take advantage of those 2 hours. And if, like we mentioned it, like you mentioned it to me, it's like there was 4 women's matches in one night. So just like I love how well they book their talent. So whenever they leave, it makes me disappointed because I'm like, but I love how they're using you here. And I feel like they really take advantage of their time. And I really love seeing that on the programming. The fact that they're able to do so many things, whether it's a segment or interview, contract signings, matches, anything like that. And people are so involved from the whole show from beginning to end. Like even when we do the tags, I don't have enough space to mention all the people that get used on the show. And that's amazing to see.
But they cut directly from this segment to a backstage segment with Hank Walker talking to Tavion Heights. And it was great. This was actually really good. Not because Hank Walker was here. He was the worst part of this whole thing. But Tavion Heights, talking about his Olympic career and talking about how, this time 4 years ago, he was in the Olympics and going ahead and winning gold. And in 2022, he was winning, I believe it was like silver or something for like the Pan Am Games. But like, he's talking about this great resume he has. And he's like, don't forget Tony D'Angelo, while not an Olympic athlete like me, he was, he tried out for the NCAA national team when he was wrestling before. He's a shooter just as well as the rest of us. Don't count this man out. He's ultra talented. I'm like, oh, I like that. That was nice. We then immediately cut again to Tank Ledger. Oh, boy. Talking to Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo does a really good job of putting over Tavion Heights, putting over the match, and just going ahead and getting excited for what we're about to see, which will be, when we come back from the commercial break, or what I thought was going to be coming back from the commercial break.
Mhm.
Tony D'Angelo versus Tavion Heights. However, we go right into a backstage. I believe we go right into the video package, right?
Yeah, it was the P promo.
There's a lot of good in this Pete Dunne promo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's too much to talk about here. You need to go watch the video package. The things I want to talk about here is though, he talks about how the one time he asked for help, he went ahead and got saddled with a bullshit nickname. And they have the thing where him being called Butch. He talked about how he got put in a group with guys. And he was going ahead, and then Sheamus walked away to go deal with his stuff. And then Ridge walked away and went to NXT and be on his own. And it left me all by myself. And then I got Tyler, and his ass got himself hurt too. I'm just like, wow, this is really cool.
Yes.
And it's like, look, I've always had to just figure shit out. It's all I do is I just figure shit out. And he's like, Trick Williams is back here just blabbering about, doesn't know what to do with one small hurdle in his way, and all of a sudden he has no idea what to do. He's like, he just needs to figure it out. We cut to Trick Williams, who's watching the video package, who says, forget whoop that trick. I'm going to whoop that ass.
That P promo though, I loved it. I feel like this should have been on WWE programming, not just NXT, because it explains so much of what a lot of people have been asking for so long, like him having the Butch name, and even now leaving the group, like things like that. I was like, dang, this should have been on like actually on WWE. I feel like it would explain so many things. And I was like, it feels like a good way to like wrap up that story with the group before. And I like how he mentions the people that he does, like this happened with Sheamus and this happened with Rich and this happened with Taylor and I'm all by myself. My favorite thing is like when he goes the YXB, it's young and bitter. And it's just like, and he talks about it's like grown man that can handle a setback and things like that, that like the way Trick is. And I like how as he's talking about this, we do get the images of Trick and him, the backstage interactions that we had so far. And the way he just connected everything, like from what happened to him to what's happening now with Trick, I was like, whoever did this, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. I loved it. It was great. I just loved everything all around that happened here. It explains so much. I loved it.
All for a one-off match that he's going to lose next week to Trick Williams.
Well,
we then get the Tavion Heights versus Tony D'Angelo Heritage Cup match. And this is really fun. I like this. This is really well done. A lot of wrestling in this. Really ground wrestling heavy. It's not pro wrestling heavy like a lot of this. This is a good majority, especially the first round or two. The second round's all in commercial, picture in picture. But it was really, really cool. Tony D'Angelo goes ahead and gets the win in the third round. Pretty early on, too, about 20, 30 seconds into that third round. And at this point, Ren Sinclair, who's in the front row, has had enough. She's had enough. She comes storming in the ring. She throws Myles out of the way. Poor Myles, man. This poor bastard's had a bad 2 weeks. We'll get to him again in a little bit here. He gets thrown off to the side. She goes ahead and pushes Tavion into the corner, and she goes, come on. You're Tavion Heights. You're better than this. You can do this. You got this. And she slaps his chest with like two hands, and she's getting him psyched up. He's like, yeah, I can do this. And she's like, are you sure you can do this? Are you ready? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. Whack! She slaps him across the face. Man, that man went out there and just bullied Tony D'Angelo for 30 seconds in round 4. Just absolutely bullied that man.
the funny part about this, like the moment she motivated him like that, I really just wanted him to win and just like have a show that Candy could be like, look what the difference I made. He won the Heritage Cup because of me. And I was just cheering up for him after that happened. I wasn't before, which is ironically. And my favorite part about this too is the fact that she's in the audience. She's not coming in from like the entrance, right? But she's like in the audience, like, you can do this, let's do it. And then when she jumps over and she takes over, and the way she did it, I feel like she did it so well done in the timing of it, and the way she like slapped him was like, no, you're doing this. And I was like, this was the moment that should have been like, yes, Tavion, win it. And then have her be like, see, I'm making a difference in your group. I got you the Heritage Cup back. I really wanted that moment for her though. That was like probably the only time like her as Ren Sinclair that I've cheered on for her in NXT so far. And I was like, look at the difference this has made so far. But again, I just want her as a heel. I'm just waiting for that moment.
It was sensational. I agree. 100% I was at that point. I'm like, fuck the story. Have Tavion Heights with the fucking Heritage Cup. I'm in for Ren Sinclair and the Candy Crew. The funny thing is I've been in for this since week 1. Like when we saw her do it, I'm like, I should hate this. This is stupid. But I kind of love it. She is the perfect missing link for this group. Charlie is this like strong British strong style wrestler. Tavion Heights is this prototypical Brock Lesnar type, just professional, like old, like Olympic wrestler. And then you've got Baby Randy. Baby Randy's this prototypical like WWE superstar. They don't give him the opportunity, but he can talk. He's funny. He's got a little bit of a wit to him. He has good timing with everything that he does. He's pretty good in the ring. Like, he's the prototypical kind of like a Randy Orton type guy. And then Ren Sinclair is the perfect mold of everything because she can wrestle good enough. She's funny. But I can also believe her as being like a little bit of a badass. Like, I'm all in for this making the Candy Crew something fun. However, of course, in round 5, nobody's paying attention after she got him the win. They're all arguing on the outside, which has Tavion start the round looking at them as opposed to being focused. Tony D'Angelo wins in another minute or so in the 5th round to go ahead and win the fall. 2 falls to 1. Best match of the night so far, hands down.
It was so fun though. It was just like I just wanted to go, yes, keep going, like have her make that difference for him and for the group. And I feel like if it had happened, I feel like I don't think I will hear complaints about it because I feel like the way it was so well done, I would have done it. I would have just be like, whatever, get the heck out of here. Let's do it. I don't care what happens later. And I feel like it would have been such a shocker as well of having something like this happen, like especially tonight when we didn't have any championships like changing hands. I was like, I feel like that would have been the exclamation point tonight in that aspect with the change of hands with something tonight.
We're gonna have in 2 weeks 6 title matches with no new champions. Like, how is that possible that we're going to have 6 championship matches and not one of the challengers is going to win those titles?
Yeah.
There's only one where it's even a possibility. It's shocking. We then get a recap of the Twitter bullshit for the 6-woman tag tonight. I'm not even going to bother going over it.
No, that's fine.
We'll deal with that when we get there. Cedric Alexander versus Brooks Jensen. Brooks Jensen comes out wearing the Jimmy Rave shirt, as pointed out to me by the natural Astrid Pizarro. I believe Jimmy Rave was involved in his training. I can't find any confirmation of that online, but it feels like something I've heard along the way that Jimmy Rave was involved in his training. This is a fine match. I mean, it's a Cedric Alexander match. There's little to no chance it's going to be bad with Cedric Alexander in the ring. What did you think?
I hate it though that they started the entrances like Brooks. I don't want to say barely happened, but it got cut off early, and then Cedric's happened during a picture-in-picture. I think it was, and I was like, what was really the point in that? But no, I feel like this was a fine match. I did feel like this was again another match that I feel like it highlighted Brooks a little bit more, and I really enjoyed that because it was different from what we've seen before from him. The other thing is like for him, instead of compared to the first match, though, he missed that like the leg drop on commentary because Cedric moved out of the way. But even we had like, I don't want to say halfway, but in the middle of the match, we had Shawn Spears come out and supporting him there. But again, it's just the part that I feel like I like to see this side that we're seeing from Brooks so far. It feels a little bit different from like the goofy side before. So every time we see him on screen the way he is right now, I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's definitely a different version. And hello to Get the Tables. Thank you for jumping in. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. I'm happy they're utilizing Cedric too. I love Cedric Alexander. Don't get me wrong. I think Cedric's great. It's one of those things where it's like, how can it be a bad match? It's Cedric Alexander. So it's just one of those things where it's like, we knew it was going to be good. Cedric's here. But it was all right. Like, I'm liking the Jensen and Spears thing. There's something there, especially with the loss. Like, last week we had the win that, like, put the, it gave some, it put the wind in the sails. And all of a sudden now it takes some of that wind out, which is what you need. You need the ups and the downs. So I like that. We'll get to see some more of that. We then get to see a Javon Evans video package. Oh, before we do that, the other table jumps in. Do you think they add more people to Spears? And if so, who? Yes, I think they're going to add more people to a stable for Shawn Spears, but I think they're going to be very choosy about who they put in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that it's going to be a Shawn Spears decision, I think, is more likely what's going to happen. Where Shawn Spears is being like, I want to work with this talent, or I want to work with that talent, because we all know this is it for Shawn Spears as far as move forward momentum. He's not going much higher than NXT probably in his career. Not that I don't like Shawn Spears, not that I'm wishing ill on him. It's late in his career. He's been here twice.
I was just thinking. Okay, let me look it up before I say something wrong, just in case.
He's in his late 30s, early 40s.
No, not that. Hold on. But yeah, I was thinking it's like, I feel like it'll be somebody, like you said, somebody that they're gonna be picky with. But at the same time, I'm wondering if he'll bring somebody over from his wrestling school. I feel like maybe that would be like an opportunity for him to like promote somebody from the wrestling school as well as they enter their time in NXT, and make that kind of like a partnership, the way that Nightmare Factory is with AEW in a way, something along those lines. So, but I don't see anybody having, the way that we have Brooks before, having kind of like that last soul kind of, kind of journey, to put it like that. I don't see anybody going through something similar right now that they'll be like, oh, I need help. Like, I need some kind of help from somebody or advice. I do feel like they might do not only think of somebody from his school, but maybe somebody debuting that they're like, oh, I feel like I need guidance. I'm new here. I don't know what to do. And then somebody shows me is like, I know the way. I've been here before. I can teach you my ways. That sort of thing. And maybe have somebody that's like brand new debut through Shawn Spears in that sort of way. But I just don't see anybody kind of having like that kind of like lost soul type of situation like Brooks did, that gives you like insight to like, hey, and this will be the next person that he will pick up. I don't know. I think it will be interesting though if we do get Josh Brooks kind of feeling like sooner or later he'll lean over towards the Shawn Spears because of what's happening with Brooks. I feel like that will be interesting to see. But I feel like, for me, in my opinion at least, that would be either somebody debuting or somebody from his wrestling school will be, I think, a different choice.
Yeah, and Spears coaching without having that coach label, I think he's Miko Satomura. I highly think that it's something like a Miko Satomura situation, where he's here and he's working in the PC and he's doing all of that. And while he's doing that, hey, you can do flatbacks. Hey, you can do the PC. Hey, you can have your family on the, like, it's one of those things where it's like Shawn's getting like exactly what he wants out of this whole situation. God, damn it. All right, this is going to come off really, really rude. Daniel Garcia needs to be treated like Julia and Stephanie Vicor winning if he gets here. That means no more of this bullshit dancing. No more of it. Done. Go back to the really good professional wrestler thing that you were doing before you got with Jericho. Drop the dancing bullshit. I don't need dancing man. I don't need dancing men. We had Alex Wright. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. No more dancing man. Let's put it this way. Dancing gimmicks in WWE in WWE, WCW that ever worked. Alex Wright? No. Fandango? No. Daniel Garcia in AEW? No. Fandango's song? Over. Yes. Fandango wrestling? No, not over. Fandango's in TNA, and he's still not over.
No, I was going to say that wasn't rude. It's just the fact that I feel like he could have a different I don't want to say personality, but he can show us a different side of him. Yeah, I was gonna say more like, I don't want to say vicious, but like something along those lines. I feel we could see from Danny Garcia. So I feel like that's something I could see in the future happening. And I do agree with you. I feel like he doesn't need to be in a group like in Sean Spears, because it kind of feels like it's for like for people that are starting out, people that feel like lost souls. And I feel like Daniel Garcia wouldn't really fit that mold right now. I would just like, if you bring him in, just catapult him to the top right away. You did it with Ethan, might as well do it with Daniel Garcia as well. I feel like he needs it.
I don't think if Daniel Garcia comes here, I don't think he stops at NXT. I'll be honest with you. I think he goes straight to the main roster. I think he has the pedigree. He's wrestled enough of the big name top stars and worked with so many of them that people that Triple H respects. Now, none of us respect Chris Jericho, but Triple H is a guy who obviously will respect Chris Jericho. He'll respect Mark Henry. He'll respect Sting. These are all guys that worked hand in hand with Daniel Garcia over there. Daniel Bryan. These are all guys that are high on Triple H's list of, if you've worked with them, you can probably skip a rung or two. He's worked with them all. There's no reason why Daniel Garcia might not just pop up on Raw or SmackDown if he comes to this company. Why put him in NXT? He knows how to wrestle on television in North America, which is the primary reason for NXT for most of these talents, is to make sure they understand how WWE television works. Yep. AEW television is essentially WWE TV at this point. As much as to be honest, that they want to be, they're not.
To be honest, I selfishly would want him in WWE in some way, shape, or form. I feel like I would like to see him facing like people that we haven't seen him face before, and I feel like it'll meet so many interesting things. Selfishly, I want him there. Sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of people that, WWE's telling us how much we need to like them, Javon Evans has a part 1 of a 2-part video package. Yes, AEW TV is essentially WWE TV. So, okay, I'll explain this a little bit further because this is definitely a statement that needs a little bit of explaining. One of the reasons why in the early days of NXT, when they were getting indie guys primarily, one of the reasons why WWE would send so many of the indie talent through NXT before bringing them up to the main roster was, we want to teach you the WWE style. That doesn't necessarily always mean the wrestling style. For a lot of these people, it meant this is how TV works on this level in North America. Because most of these talents that they were bringing in weren't doing live television before. Most of them, if any TV they were doing, was Ring of Honor. There wasn't a lot of streaming back then when NXT was coming up through the heyday of the black and gold. So a lot of these guys weren't getting that. So in that respect, AEW TV is a lot like WWE TV. It's produced the same way. There's a hard cam on one side. There's nobody sitting behind it because nobody goes to the shows. Backstage vignettes, a go position, everything basically works almost like a WWE show. Just smaller scale. Everything just a little bit less. So Daniel Garcia wouldn't necessarily need to have a big introduction. You could just send him there. Julia and Stephanie Vacor need to come here mostly for, I'm going to guarantee, dialect training. I think that's one thing that Sean and Triple H are going to get in there is bring them in. Let's see how good their English is and see if and what we need to do to give them language training.
I think it's also the part of getting, I feel like sometimes NXT is not only what you mentioned, but it's also a way for people to like get introduced to those people. So it's like, it'll be better if you introduce Stephanie to a smaller audience and get people to get to know her little by little than put her in the main roster and she gets no reaction. So that's why it's better to just kind of go on steps and just keep going and adding more to the audience as they get to know her. And it just feels kind of like an introduction to what these people are. So it's like once you see them in the main roster, you're like, I know who that is. So it just feels that sort of way, especially with Stephanie and Julia. Julia does know English. A lot of people have that mistaken for some reason. She does know. She just speaks Japanese as well. But I think it'll be good for her as well to like it's learning more of like the Davy style when it comes to the cameras and the way the way they wrestle towards the cameras and things like that. But she does know English. Stephanie, the only thing would be like her accent, but obviously that's obviously something hard to get rid of. I still have mine 20 years later, so it's just a matter of like getting them like used to how it goes here. And maybe have what Andrade is doing, for example, do a mixture. They do a little bit of Spanish with the English interview and things like that, and kind of telling them these are the kind of words you can say in your interviews because people will understand them and they won't be too complicated and things like that. So it just feels like it's more of anything like an introduction. And I feel if we already think that the NXT women's division is already one that's great, adding Stephanie, Julia, and Delta that's coming soon as well, that stacks the roster even more. So just like it's crazy to think about. We have three powerful women coming into this roster on top of what we have already. So it's like I cannot begin to imagine the next couple months in NXT are gonna be chef's kiss even more than they were already.
Look at those three badass women. Like, seriously.
I'm waiting for that moment, please. I mean, Delta's gonna take a little bit longer, I feel, because she hasn't really officially moved to the US. I feel like the closest one we got Stephanie, then Julia, and then probably Delta, and I was in that order. But again,
I mean,
I was hoping for that. So
it really is. It is the best women's division in wrestling right now. Like, it's legit. I have faith that Trips and Sean's will get it. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Like I said, when I was talking about language training, I'm not saying that they need to learn how to speak English so much as we've seen Asuka, we've seen Io, we've seen Kyrie. They've all gone through changes where they've learned to try to cut their promos in English, and Triple H is much more understanding to screw it, just let it cut it in Japanese, and we'll kind of paraphrase what's going on. Like
no, and I say that not based on what you said, but basically because a lot of people are always saying that, assuming that Julia doesn't know English. When I think she has a British descent, if I'm not mistaken. So she does know English, but it's just the fact that obviously she's in a Japanese promotion, so she speaks Japanese. So that's how it's gonna go. But I feel it's gonna go well in that aspect later because they can use her in the tours, for Japan, and then have her be one of those people that people can actually see as a familiar face there.
I mean, Okada, I think Okada's here to have fun. I think Okada resigned himself to, I'm not going to be best bout machine. I'm not going to be the Okada I've been. I'm coming here to get paid, have fun with friends. As I've been told from the Lauren Goodnight, that I have to understand that Okada's here to, 1, get paid, 2, have fun.
I mean, you can kind of tell though, because in the Blood and Guts, he's the one that took the least bumps out of anybody, I think. So.
Well, let's not talk about Blood and Guts. Well, let's move on. By the way, Astrid, Get the Tables also says congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what for, but congratulations.
I think maybe the job promotion I said about, maybe that's the only thing. I don't have anything else going on.
You're going to have a very interesting guest for SummerSlam weekend, though. I saw the first reply to that tweet. Oh, you do? Have you seen you haven't seen the reply to the tweet yet, have you?
No, I have.
Oh, okay, yeah. Says TG, 1, get paid. 2, get paid. 3, get paid.
No, what does Lauren say? Get that bag.
Get that bag. Yes. Okay. And
yeah, get that bag.
Yes. It is about your promotion. Yes.
Yeah.
The one I accidentally leaked last week because I thought it was official already. Yes, and part 4 for Okada. Say bitch.
Yes.
All right. We're going to move off of Okada and wrestling with AEW because that always gets me in trouble. Javon Evans. We started this with Javon Evans. Video package. All right. This was weird. This was weird. I didn't love this. It's meant to be this like great like behind the scenes like hey, look at me and love me kind of thing. But it came off super nerdy and super like fabricated.
Coming from you, super nerdy.
So, okay, let me explain my thoughts, and then we can yell about how much of a nerd I am. I understand that. We can get the gallows thing and go nerd. Anyways, he's talking about how when him and his mom and dad would fight all the time, they'd be yelling, but the one time that he could block out the yelling was during wrestling. which is fun. I get that. Makes perfect sense. Love it. And his parents broke up, when he was 6 years old. His mom was, one wrestler guy. His dad was another wrestler guy. And, it just, he had these different worlds between his mom and his dad. But he grew up as like a wrestling fan. And then he's like, hey, I'm not going to get in trouble if I tell these stories. And I'm like, what kind of PC stories are you going to tell? Like, and he's like, when I was in like second grade, I climbed up, like, the fuck? Like when I climbed up a wall in second grade and pretended I was Jeff Hardy and did a swanton bomb. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, why would you get in trouble for that? You're a grown ass man. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then
No, he's
like,
not.
well, no, but he's essentially he's 18. It's not like he's 10.
Yeah, but not a grown ass man. And
Same difference. Honestly, there are 40-year-old men who aren't grown-ass men. Let's fucking put that out there right now. Anyways, moving on from that wording, we get to him and he's like, am I going to get in trouble for saying this? And I'm like, what the hell now? And he's like, yeah, I used to tell my teachers to suck it and like my neighbors to suck it. And like people, I'm like, we all did. It's called fucking being a kid in the Attitude Era. And then I'm like, oh, wait, he's talking about the second generation DX. He's talking about like the Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon DX with like the Spirit Squad and shit. Because I realize he's that young and that's the DX he's talking about. I'm sitting here thinking about like DX with China and Rick Rude and like the original Suck It and all that shit. And
I mean, I get that because that's the DX that I watched, but I also know about the other DX. You know what I mean? So
like, cause like everybody when I was growing up in the Attitude Era, we were all saying "suck it." We were all getting in trouble for it. But it's like he's asking permission to say these things that happened like 10 years ago. I'm like, I didn't love it. I honest, it made him less likable. I feel like I like Javon Evans less now than I did before. Rant over.
I was torn about it because I get where you're coming from. I didn't like the style of it. I didn't like the. Am I gonna get in trouble for this? Am I gonna get in trouble for that? I'm like, just say it already. I just want to know why you. I feel like it kind of cuts off like the pacing when you keep saying, "Can I say this? Can I say that? Am I gonna get in trouble?" Like, no, it cuts off for like the story you're telling us. But if you take out those parts of like, "Can I get in trouble?" I feel like I would have taken that out during with the editing. And I would have had him say the story because the background of the story is what I loved about it, though.
A+,
because the fact
A+.
that part was great because I was thinking this is one of the few times we actually get to know a little bit about Javon. He tells us about his family, his love for wrestling, how he started loving wrestling, things like that. I wanted to hear. But can I say this? Am I getting in trouble for that? That part I would have taken out during editing. I'm surprised why they didn't. Because if you're going to keep it, it just makes him look terrible. At the same time, it makes him look like he's hesitating to tell us about his story. And it's like, why would you hesitate? Just tell us. And it's like, in that part I didn't like about it. I feel like I would have just taken those parts out. And the story itself of like my parents separated, wrestling was my thing. I was in school and I was climbing walls because what I saw, I wanted to practice it. Things like that I would have just shown because I feel like it connected people a little bit more to him because they're thinking, oh, we love wrestling. We love the same wrestling. It's like, well, the DX that you watched, I love that DX too. How amazing is that? It makes me relatable. And I feel like taking that out and putting can I say this? Can I say that? I'm like, stop saying that. It just annoyed me in that aspect. So it just made it like that's why I was torn about it because I just felt like I liked it and I didn't. I would have taken that out and it would have been even better. It's like I would have done that in editing because it just makes him look like he just like kind of like double like overthinking everything as he's doing this promo. Yeah, I feel like those are the kind of parts you take out when you're editing the video when it's pre-recorded like this. And it's like, it's the second time we get something like a sit down from him and we get to know him a little bit more. And I feel like you could have kept that going if you took that out and it would have been even better than what it was. And it's like, once I heard it, I'm like, and then the laugh and everything in between, I'm like, cut that out. That's like cutting dead air from like clips. That's what you usually do in editing. So I was like, how come you didn't do that? I don't know, but
Yeah,
still,
Sean.
just like,
Sean, how come you didn't do that?
It's like next time hire somebody from UCF and not Full Sail. That's why.
Never hire from Full Sail. TNA's headed to Full Sail. Like, let's be honest here. TNA's headed to Full Sail. We all know.
But I mean, yeah, either way, I would have taken that out.
I can say whatever I want as long as I don't tell who I heard it from. You won't catch that on the dirt sheets, I'll tell you that much for sure. Anyways, Joe Hendry is talking to some ladies backstage. And I'll be honest, I couldn't remember the motherfucker's name that walked up and took the girls. Ashanti the Adonis. I couldn't remember his name to save my life. I literally have question mark in my notes. I couldn't even be bothered once I remembered it to go back and put it in there. I just put 3 question marks and left it alone. It means that little to me.
Damn.
We then have, I'm going to let Astrid go ahead and talk about this because she likes it a hell of a lot more than I do. The Treehouse.
I loved it. It made me be in my feels. I love seeing the Rascals together. I really do. And this reunion is exactly what it needed to be. And the Treehouse was exactly the example. It was fun. I love how they started and then Wesley goes, no, it's PG in here. Like, we can't do that. But they still have their moments still as the group. And I love how they talk back. It's like, as MSK, we never lost the tag team championships. So it's like, I like how he's like, I'm going to text Nathan and Axiom to see if they like this idea. That based on what we heard later, it looks like it was just Axiom then. That's what it seemed like. But I loved it because I was thinking this is for next week. And I was like, I loved the main event last week. I cannot begin to imagine this match when I have 4 favorites in one ring. I won't be able to contain myself.
Oh boy, we should get a live view of that one and put it on the internet.
Yes.
We then have the Joe Hendry concert. This sounds like the ICW For Me and You song that he did on the Indies for ICW.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's the same song, isn't it?
I think so.
ICW, I make ICW better for me and for you. Yeah. If you haven't, you need to just search Joe Hendry ICW entrance songs. You just need to search it. Honestly, give yourself an hour tonight and search it and enjoy. There's a Drew McIntyre one in there. There's a Jack Jester. If you don't know who Jack Jester is, you're really missing out. Fantastic independent wrestler from ICW. If you don't know who he is, you need to go ahead and check that out. I love Jack Jester. He was bigging upping a lot of the talent when they were in Scotland for the Clash. A lot of the talent was going back there and giving him his props. There's one about Noam Dar. There's a really good one about Noam Dar. All kinds of great music in there. But he talks about how Booker T is the president of the Joe Hendry fan club, and he has a picture of Booker T in a kilt, which is nice.
The first line was the chef's line, and he had Hunter and Shawn Michaels on the screen. Yeah.
And then he had Joe Coffey is Dutch Mantel's son, which I didn't realize how close they look like each other until
right. At first, I was like, "Huh? How?" And then they showed it to the screen. I went, "Oh my god! I can't believe it!" And never went through my mind at all. Genius.
Like I was gonna say, like I know who Dutch Mantel is, and we all do. Zeb Coulter from WWE with We the People. I'm like, no, they don't look alike. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, they do look alike.
Yes, that was scary. Yeah, I never thought about this. Like, how did he come about this? I'm not sure. And then when they posted the pictures on the screen, they're both next to each other, I went, whoa, I never thought that was possible. That's so weird.
And by the way, always a shout out to Tony at Get the Tables on Twitter. If you aren't following, you need to follow. Big fan of Tony over there on Twitter. So the Dutch Burger line was great. Yes, we just talked about it. with the picture and all about how much you like that one. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hendry is so coming to
Yeah.
there. This is the point where TNA should start going, oh, we might have made a mistake doing this.
I think him and Jordan, yeah.
Him and Jordan are gone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan comes too. If Jonathan,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Grace for sure. I think Grace for sure. And I think
Yeah.
Grace goes straight to the main roster. I think Grace is in the Royal Rumble, and I think she's Final Four this year in the Rumble. I think Jordan Grace is Final Four in the Rumble this year. Gallus then comes out and interrupts him. They attack him 3-on-1. Later on in the night, Joe Hendry's walking out. We get a confirmation. It's going to be Joe Hendry versus Joe Coffey next week. As predicted on the SCW Wrestling channel. If you haven't, go ahead and give that a watch. You'll see what we thought about what happened this week's show. And we'll even talk about what's next. That was the phrase of the night, is because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about with the stuff that was happening tonight that we knew going in. So there was a lot of discussion about what's next, and a rather lengthy discussion on a stupid point about Stephanie McCour going for the North American Women's Championship, which you shouldn't bother watching because the boy's an idiot. Anyways, we have Roxanne getting ready backstage when Hank Tank come up there and try to do some kind of post-it note challenge with her, and I've never heard of this. This must be a ticky-talk thing that I don't understand. I don't do the ticks and the talks over there, so yeah, if you ever see me posting stuff on TikTok, just understand I'm being told to do something and I'm doing it for the TikTok because I don't understand the TikTok, especially after my latest issue with TikTok, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah, so she basically tells them that, just go away. I need to prepare for my match. And then Jaida Parker goes, you might not even be champion after tonight. And I'm like, ooh, really? I like that idea. I didn't put those two together as pieces that could go together. And I'm like, I'd be interested in that.
Right? I thought it was like, this could be an interesting matchup in between the Stephanie and Julia arrival.
At this point, fucking Stephanie's not going to get here before Julia. Julia's going to be here by the end of August. Stephanie McCour has been done with, what was it? CMLL for 2 weeks now. She wrestled on shows in Mexico 2 weeks ago, and she's still not here. There's a chance that Julia might beat Stephanie here, and Stephanie's not doing anything. Send her to the ring, have her call out Roxanne Perez. She doesn't even need to win. If you don't want to ruin the Roxanne versus Julia thing, she doesn't even need to win. Have Julia come out in the middle of that match. Because Julia will be here by the time we get to No Mercy, right? No Mercy.
I feel like between both of them, and that's the pickle that I'm like, now in NXT, that's the pickle. Because I know Roxanne will lose the championship soon and get that call up, but between both of them, I wouldn't know which one to pick to win between Stephanie and Julia. Because I feel like after everything that happened, you will like Julia to be champion as soon as she gets there. But at the same time, you have Julia's name right there. So it's like, unless we have maybe Stephanie winning first and then Julia coming in and challenging her right after and then taking it from her. And then, I don't know. But it feels like that order there's going to be kind of messy in a way. But we'll see how that goes.
And then add Delta to the equation come the beginning of the year. We then have, as my notes say, Ethan and Zorro signing a backstage. Ethan and Oro Mensa signing backstage, not Zorro. Nothing important happened in this segment whatsoever. We then get my second favorite women's match of the night. My second favorite women's match of the night. Jaida Parker versus Kendal Gray. And by the way, it's second by this much. That main event was fantastic, and it only beat out this match by that much. And I'll get to my issues with the main event when we get there, but this match was fantastic. I have one thing I need to talk about here, though. I want to see more of Kendal Gray right away. I want her to get promo time. I want her to have more matches. I want to see her in there week in and week out. I don't care if she loses every match. I just want to see her out there every week. Just going out there. This woman is so talented. I think Karlee Bright is great. I love Karlee Bright. She makes me smile every time she's on my TV screen. Kendal Gray is way better than Karlee Bright. Kendal Gray reminds me of Tiffany Stratton. Not with the promo ability. It's kind of the exact opposite. She has that star power, but in a different way. She's got a tiny frame, not much to it, but she's in the right spots. She knows how to sell. They booked her incredibly strong in this match with Jaida Parker. I got to see Jaida Parker sell for once, because that's not something we're used to seeing. I thought this match was sensational. I thought this match was fantastic. Obviously, the right person won. Jaida Parker is a star and needs to be at the top of the charts. But give me more Kendal Gray. We also had a great moment where Kendal Gray, where what's this little Randy, baby Randy comes running out here again, and he taps Karlee on the shoulder, and he's like, I need to get in there and talk to your friend. And Carly's like, she's a wrestling dummy. You can't talk to her now. Kendal comes out behind him, does the throw again, says, Karlee, I got your back, and goes in. And I'm like, oh, this is where she loses. No, she avoids the contact and almost gets the win. I'm like, holy shit. I thought they were going to have her beat Jaida Parker. I legitimately, for a moment there, thought she was going to beat Jaida Parker. This was my match of the night. I get it. It shouldn't have been. And I'm talking myself into it because I really like that Thea Hale versus Roxanne Perez match. I thought this was fantastic. It had just enough time. These girls killed it. They're not the best wrestlers in the world, but my God, are they getting better? And these two could be the stars of NXT in 2 years. These two could be the Roxanne Perez of this division in 2 years. I think Jaida will be on the main roster by then, but I think if she were to stay down there, I think that they could both be stars of this division. We had HBC bad guys jumping in saying, hello, gentlemen. Ashley, what did you think of the women here?
Yeah, I feel like Kendal did a lot better than I expected her to do. Because usually when these debuts happen, the girls are like, it's like a Jazmyn. I felt like they were slow and things like that. So I kind of expected that to happen. And the way she picked it up once it started, I went, who is this? What the heck? Like, I was not expecting her to, like, keep up with Jaida when Jaida has a little bit more experience than she does, TV wise. So when she did, I was very surprised. And like you said, when that moment happened of like she throws over Myles and she's like, we're good. And then she goes in the ring. I'm like, oh no, she's going to lose. And then she picked it up like nothing. I was like, what the heck is happening? It just feels like bizarre world here. Usually that doesn't work. And the only thing I would say is that it kind of tore me though, because at one point she almost beats Jaida. And I was thinking, the way you see that, Jaida has more experience than she does. I would have tried to give you the hint that that was going to happen, especially on a debut. But at the same time, it made me think, they're really pushing this girl, aren't they? Because look at how, and they didn't get a lot of time, but I feel like that they had a chemistry. Kendal did great, like the back and forth they had it with each other. And there's like having those like little moments that it makes me feel like she was gonna like win over Jaida. I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I was in that mindset. And again, I feel like you said she did. I feel like she did better than Karlee. Not that Karlee was bad, but I feel like she did better than Karlee though in this aspect. So I want to see them, not only that, but I want to see them teaming as well to see how they do as a tag team together when they have to tag in and out compared to being one on one. So I'm curious to see them in a tag team, but also see them as singles competitors more often, because this match is something I didn't expect. When she came out, I was like, I know who Kendal is, but I was like, why are you here? Because none of this was like any hint of it coming out, to put it like that. But I feel like it came out of nowhere. But it was a good surprise. I feel like she did better than I thought she would.
Yeah, I thought this was a great match. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Ridge Holland talking to Thea Hale, telling her to do whatever it takes. I posed a question to everybody here. I posed it to Astrid, and I think she ignored it. Should we read into the fact that Andre Chase is the only one wearing the normal Chase shoe colors and everybody else is in the new stuff?
I was waiting a little bit on that because I wanted to see how it felt a little bit later before the match. And then even during the entrances, when you see everybody with the shirts by Andre, I was like, that looks so odd. Like visually, it does look weird when you're the head of the university, but then everybody else is dressed alike. in unison, but you're not. Visually, it felt odd seeing that a little bit later. I just wanted to wait to see how it felt through the show. And now that I saw it later for Thea's entrance, I was like, that feels a little bit odd there.
Also, Andre Chase just posted this on Twitter about a half an hour ago. At Heatwave, the NXT Tag Team Championships involved Chase U and Axiom and Nathan Frazier. On NXT a few weeks later, Duke versus Obafemi for the North American Championship. Tonight at the Great American Bash, NXT Women's Championship, Thea Hale took on Roxanne Perez. Chase U is the glue, and something's going to stick very soon.
Interesting.
Something bad's about to happen to Andre Chase.
Mm.
And I forget who it was. I think it was Pete Dunne who put it out there, and I'm like, oh, if only he was talking about Andre Chase when he said it. He said bravado, and I was like, oh, because it's Harlem Bravado is the person who's Andre Chase, and I was like, oh, that would have been a nice little thing there. I have a bad feeling something really bad is going to happen to Andre Chase real soon. Yeah. Everybody's wearing those new colors, and he ain't getting on board.
Mm-hmm.
The LWO is backstage. Raul Mendoza returned. Joaquin Wilde's back there. They're talking to Axiom, and Astrid went all red for about 20 seconds here as all three of these men were talking in Spanish and making our heart go pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter.
No, only Axiom did, but I did love having them talk in Spanish.
And then Nathan comes in trying to talk to them, and they're all just like, "Hold on, Nathan. We'll deal with you in a minute. Keep talking." And then Stevie Turner and Robert Stone come up, and they try to get them to sign the NXT Tag Team title contract. And Nathan's like, "Hold on, well, we're going to talk about this, and we'll get back to you." And Axiom's just like, "Pen, just all right, cool, signed, done." And he's like, "What? You're just going to sign for the match without even talking to me, without even asking me? You didn't even look at the contract." Whatever, it doesn't matter. We got this. Me and you, we got this. I'm going to go win on speed this week, and then we're going to go ahead and win next week. I'm like, oh, boy.
It's like, so he didn't get the text message that Wes sent.
No, not. Axiom did not. Axiom obviously got it. He knew what was going on.
He's like, I just signed it because I know what's happening.
Yep.
Or maybe Nathan got it and didn't read it. That's possible, too.
Nathan looks like the guy that would leave you on red.
Yeah.
Nathan definitely looks like. By the way, in the Chase U segment, we've got to mention it. Riley Osborne's got a little new piece of jewelry on his finger. Congratulations to Mr. Riley. To Mr. Blair Davenport, I should say. Because Lord knows in that relationship, she's the one who probably wears the pants over him. What? She's scary, man. It's Blair Davenport. You seen that lady? She's scary.
Okay, moving on.
Hey, congratulations to them, though. Like I said, jokes aside, great for them. They got the win.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, marriage is a wonderful thing, or so I'm told. I've tried twice, failed twice.
I wouldn't know.
Haven't made it down the aisle yet, though, so I guess I haven't really failed. I just haven't quite got there. Oh, all right. While I sit here and drink my haterade, Astrid, talk to us about the 6-woman tag.
I really enjoyed it because it reminded me a lot of the Toxic Attraction days. Because the way the heels, the way they broke off the ring in half, and those moments that they did, and the way they took control of the match when those moments that they did, it just felt a lot like it. And it made me miss Toxic Attraction, like specifically Gigi and Jacy together, because it reminded me so much of it. But I feel like they had a good back and forth here. It was surprising that I feel like I didn't see Lola as active as the rest of the girls. I feel like Soul really was the most out of the whole group, and then Karmen and then Lola. I did like the moment in the middle of the ring when they do the little hip thing, whatever, with her, and they try to do the dance. But I feel like the shot wasn't great because it did it kind of from bird's eye view, and I would have done it a little bit differently so that way you could see all three of them doing it at the same time. But I feel like it was fun seeing them, even though they're like, as I say, a makeshift team, do something like this, like in unison. The one thing also I didn't like was that we have Jazmyn and Jacy matching in their gears. Come on, Fallon, you couldn't wear red for one night to match with the rest of them. Trying to make it look like you're a team. That would have been the first step, but I guess not. She didn't get the memo, I guess. But I feel like it was a good back and forth. I feel like it showed off a lot of the girls. Like I said, Lola would have been the one that was showed off the least. And I did like the ending because I like how Fallon pins Karmen as like one of the rookies, but then Jacy stopping Lola from helping with the pin there as well. And I like how that happened at the end too. But I just want to see what else they decide to do after this match now. Now you can spill out your haterade.
So there was a great clip of Fallon Henley when she was Tesha Price going around this week when she was doing her AEW work, where she wrestled Layla Hirsch and she tried to do the back handspring spot and completely just fell on her, like literally and figuratively fell on her face. And somebody tweeted it and goes, "Oh, is this the hard work you put in beforehand?" And I'm like, it's rude, but it's true. But the only thing I need to mention about this is Mama Fries had a quote of the night here. They need to get girls that can fight and not just scream. Yep.
Nope.
I have officially renamed the Jazmyn Nix, Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley group, thanks to Vic Joseph for this, the Terrible Trio. Because every time they're on my TV screen, it's terrible for me.
Oh, the other thing that made me laugh too was the part when Fallon does the "I'm a Latina" thing that Lola does. Oh my god, she did it too well. It was funny. Anyway, let's go to the next one before you keep spilling haterade.
I've got plenty of haterade here. The cup's still half full.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the next one.
I will say that a person I highly respect, as opposed to Astrid, I respect Astrid. But another person I highly respect, Victor Tyler Perry, also said that this match cooked, and which prompted me to ask Astrid if I watched the same match as the rest of people, because the match I watched did not cook. It did not cook at all. It was like when I tried to cook the soup the last week. It was bad. Anyways, Kalani Jordan is walking backstage, and Tatum Paxley interrupts her and talks to her about she's got her toy. Tatum's got all her toys. Let's go ahead and play. And Kalani's like, no, you don't get this. Like we're not doing this. I'm not playing with dolls and shit. And she's like, well, that's fine. We could just play with this. And she taps her title and she goes, honey, I don't play when it comes to this. Tatum's like, that's fine. Neither do I. And all the meanwhile, Astrid's sitting in the background just looking like fucking Jack Sparrow with her fucking painted eyes and shit. And her eyes closed with a painting. You know what I'm talking about? The Jeff Hardy Jack Sparrow bullshit. Honestly, I said that just to see if I could pop Astrid. And I did. Next week, we're getting Kalani versus Tatum. This is the part where we have Joe Hendry calling out Joe Coffey. And we get the confirmed matches for next week, which are Ethan Page versus Oro Mensah in our main event for the NXT Championship. Trick Williams versus Pete Dunne. Joe Hendry versus Joe Coffey. The Battle of the Joes. We're also going to have Kalani Jordan versus Tatum Paxley for the North American Women's Championship. And Naxium will take on MSK for the tag team titles. 3 more championship matches, 3 more championship retentions. They did say his name, and boy, did he appear and had a great time at it. It was fantastic. And if you missed it, if you missed Joe Hendry, you can go ahead and watch it. If you go to the WWE Twitter account, they have the entire 5-minute segment on their Twitter page in its entirety. Oh, because the table's saying the Rascals are going to win. I
love the teasing though, because they say, "What if we win those titles and we go and we have them across promotions?" And I was like, "Please."
So I teased this last week, and for anybody who watched the show, they would have heard me say it. I laid out a little fantasy booking about who I think is going to be the first cross-promotional champion in NXT TNA. And I laid it out as such. WWE loves to make a big deal about when they switch networks. Big things tend to happen on those shows when they switch networks. I mean, we can't forget when they switched to Fox and poor Kofi Kingston learned that Brock Lesnar does not take African-American World Championships very seriously. And he went ahead and pinned his ass in 16 seconds. I think on the first episode of NXT on the CW that Ethan Page is going to lose the NXT championship to Joe Hendry. I think Joe Hendry is going to be the NXT World Champion coming out of this debut of the CW. Because you can have a short run where you get the title off of him using Josh Alexander, cheating him out of it, and you can go ahead and have Ethan Page or somebody else win that title. I especially think it should be smart if it's Ethan Page, because you have that North connection. And Joe Hendry is the first cross-promotional champion. I think that makes a ton of sense. I believe, clap, clap. Yeah, I think it's great. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with the way they're booking. Because I think between now and the CW on October 1st, at that next pay-per-view, that's where Trick Williams goes into and loses his rematch for the NXT Championship. And like I said, this partnership, while it's being productive on both sides, and I'll kind of answer the question, how do you feel about the TNA NXT partnership versus the previous TNA AEW partnership? I'll say this. The partnership with NXT and TNA will feel real once somebody wins the other's championship. I think until that point, it won't be real. What I will say is that WWE has made sure to make sure that TNA talent feel like a big deal. TNA talent feel important when they come to NXT. Less of them have come over here, but the ones that do come feel like a big deal. The Rascals feel like a big deal. They're getting a title opportunity. Jordan Grace came over, got a title opportunity. Joe Hendry, he's being made a star on NXT television. Like, they are front-loading Joe Hendry onto these shows. They have taken seriously taking TNA talent, making them feel like a big deal. AEW never did that. AEW never made anybody from TNA feel like a bigger deal than what they were. And it didn't help that every week on the TNA side of the broadcast, you had Tony Khan cutting a promo talking about how much TNA sucks and how he's just giving them money. So yeah, I think that it's a much better partnership this time around.
Yeah, I would say like the AEW one felt more one-sided, to put it like that. And who did really do it? Only Kenny. So it's like, I feel like now with this, I like to call it NXTNA, as I should be. I feel like it's more, it has more, it's open not a window, but a door of opportunities here. Because I feel like anybody is able to show up anywhere. And I feel like they're giving me so far that clue that that can happen. Because Joe Hendry, I think, has appeared the most out of anybody so far. And he's been doing great with it. The crowd loves him, and they're taking advantage of it, taking advantage of the meme that everything that Joe Hendry has made with his music. And at the same time, I think it's something that's benefiting both, because here you have WB going viral because of the Joe Hendry clips, because TNA hasn't gone viral with them. It's the WB accounts. But at the same time, look at Slammiversary. It's sold out. Why? Because a lot more people are talking about it and see it and watching it now because of the NXT connection. They're bringing a lot more eyes to that product, to the company that some people were not watching. So it just it feels more kind of equal in that aspect, because even though we had the big people come out from TNA here, like the Rascals and Jordan and Hendry, I know with NXT being in TNA, we haven't had the big people, but they've had the presence known in TNA at the same time, even if they're not bigger names. But they still, when they come out, it's like we had Tatum come out, we had Izzy come out, we had the Rascals, and so we still have Wesley being there too. And to think this is just the beginning of it. Hopefully, it'll keep going forward, and then we'll see more of that happening. I feel what TNA has a little bit more of a challenge because it's pre-recorded. But at the same time, it just, I feel like this is just a little tip of it. I feel like they can do a lot more. And this is just the beginning of it. I think they're just kind of seeing how people feel about it. And if people like it, then we'll continue to do it. And so far, it's been a positive feedback. I haven't seen anybody being negative about it.
The one thing that Triple H has done is WWE people don't need to go every place and win everything anymore. We saw Nakamura in wrestle against the Great Muta. We saw AJ Styles wrestle against Marufuji. We saw Io go ahead and wrestle against what's her name?
Was it Sari?
No, it was Nakashita. I forget who it was. Io Sky wrestled against somebody, one of the girls from Stardom. We had, everything that's going on here. All the Bloodsport stuff. Take out the MVP stuff, which is a story in and of itself. But we had Julius Creed this time on we had Bloodsport. We had Shayna Baszler doing the Bloodsport intro this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's been there twice now. Like, there's partnerships where WWE is sending talent, and they don't necessarily need to. Yes, sometimes they're winning. Sometimes when they go places, they're winning. But oftentimes they're not. This is a thing where Vince would have been like, if we're coming, we're winning. And Triple H is like, look, let's just make something work for everybody.
I feel like it brings something new to the table, to the point of like it kind of gives people like dream matches and dream scenarios that we didn't think could happen before. And not only that, but Bloodsport got mentioned during Raw as well. I feel like it would have been nice if they did have footage a little bit here and there to put out. But again, having the Bloodsport mentioned during the Creed Brothers match, during Chyna's match, is like that doesn't happen. And have NJPW mentions as well. And just like that kind of thing that it felt like so forbidden before, to put it like that, is something that is just so real now. And I feel like it opens up so much. There's so many things that could happen in the future. And I feel like they're setting it up. Imagine now, first we had so far Mickie James and Jordan in the Rumble. Next year, who knows who else we're going to see in the Rumble? Because, the way that this partnership is going, we might have more surprises. I feel like next year they should definitely do like a 40 woman and 40 man Royal Rumble, because I'm surprised they haven't tried to erase ADR's record of being the 40-man Battle Royal. 40-man Royal Rumble. I'm very surprised that hasn't happened. But
By the way,
I would do something like that.
You have to use his official name. Notable Prick, Alberto Del Rio.
I'm just saying, I don't even want to mention his name, hence why I do the initials. But it's just like, I would have done a 40 woman and 40 man Royal Rumble, because at this point, between the people you have in the rosters, NXT, even Legends, and maybe some people from, let's say, TNA, I feel like you would do great at showing up a lot of people there.
40 people Royal Rumbles are really hard to negotiate.
I don't care. Make it happen. It should be fun.
They're really hard to watch, honey. Really hard to watch.
Okay, it's a Royal Rumble. It'll be enjoyable when we get surprises.
Speaking of things that aren't hard to watch, however, Thea Hale versus Roxanne Perez. This was great. My biggest quibble with this match is it was too short. This match needed 5-10 more minutes. And you know where you could have got those fucking 5-10 minutes NXT? From the 6-woman tag that went 20. That 6-woman tag feel like it went 20 minutes. You could have taken half that match and just put it on here.
And I felt like the pacing also made it feel shorter than what it was. Because it just went like go by to the point that I'm like, how long was this match really? Because it didn't feel like it was really long. And I feel like the pacing didn't help it in that aspect. To me, the only thing that bothered me is having Thea going for the Kimura so early. I know what she's trying to do with it, but I would have saved that towards the end of the match and try to make it like feel special in that sort of way. It's like, when you think she's got Roxanne, let me put the Kimura lock and give you that hint of like, oh, she might actually tap out. But don't do it like gazillion times during the match, because at this point, by the time you do it towards the end, I'm not gonna believe you. I really am not. But again, I feel like they had a great chemistry. They did great. I was waiting for Rich to do something, because there were so many times that they had like actually him so close to Roxanne and Thea. I'm like, what is he gonna do? I'm scared. So that really had me nervous having him at ringside there. And again, I don't know if somebody mentioned that earlier, or no, I saw it in a tweet. I think it was. But I think like the ending, though, the way they did it, I was expecting Stephanie at least to come out, because I just felt like that zoom out there and then the copyright in the corner almost gave me like when Punk Day returned. I really wanted that moment of like some music interrupting Roxanne and her turn and be like, who the heck is this? And then Stephanie coming out, just give her a signal, say no name, no nothing, and then have Roxanne be a little bit, chasing of who it is next week. So I was waiting for something like that because I'm like, if you're gonna put it on main event, I feel like you had to put an exclamation point to that, and I feel like that should have been it. And I was like, come on, we're waiting for one of the three to arrive. We know at least Julia's gonna take a bit, so I was expecting a Stephanie at least. So when that happened, and then I saw this like the commercial for whatever they're playing after, I was like, damn it, I really wanted Stephanie to come out. They're making me wait.
Yeah, we're not getting Stephanie Vicor in NXT anytime soon, and it's sad. But you know what? This was a great match. I love the pacing of this because I was raised on this ground based, like old school hold and hold wrestling. And I think that's part of it, is that this is an old school style of they both knew that they were going to try to submit each other, and it was who can get the submission on, and it was set up the submission, go for the submission, and the roll throughs and everything. Like, I'd be honest, and I'm gonna bring this up to our man Bobby Munson. I want Bobby to have Papa Smokes watch this match before Thursday, and I want a Papa Smokes review of Thea Hale versus Roxanne Perez. Because I think this is the type of match that I think he'd find really intriguing, because it was very ground-based, old school. Let's just get that submission on style, and I think he might find a lot of fun in that. So, Munson, do it. Get Papa Smokes to watch this match. But that brings us to the end of our show. Astrid, what you got going on this week?
Well, let's see. I'm hoping to record a preview to SummerSlam like I've been trying to do for my pay-per-view. So if you haven't yet, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and hit that bell to be notified when I upload or go live. After that, hoping to do the SummerSlam post show for here. We'll see how that goes. I feel afterwards. I do know. Hopefully, I don't get the date wrong. Let me double check. August 3rd at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's when Mark is interviewing me on the OLE channel. So we got that going. I can actually say that one out loud.
Is that going to be a live show, or is that going to be a recorded and posted show?
From what I know, he wants to help my anxiety by doing it live. Worse than with you.
I was going to say, at least I gave you the option of doing it pre-recorded.
Yeah.
SCG, will you be doing an after SummerSlam post-show recap? I will be. We'll get to that in just a moment.
Yep.
You can go ahead and find Astrid at all the places.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but I think that's it for now. I was gonna say, Bobby responded. I should have messaged him about the match. But either way, I think aside from that, you can find me on my Twitter, Blue Skies Astrid Pizarro, and then Instagram and Threads Astrid Pizarro 20. And that's about it for now. And then Tuesday again, right here with this one. Not Sean, the other one.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at edfries12584. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/edfries2002. I will be giving my thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine, some extra thoughts that I had, as I was unfortunately had to leave that review early, so I'll probably give some thoughts on that. We're going to be talking all about Comic-Con tomorrow, so me and Andre C will be here right after AEW. We'll be talking all about the Comic-Con announcements. Who's the new Doctor Doom? Is the Fantastic Four going to be good? Why is Vanessa Kirby so horny for Pedro Pascal? We'll answer all the questions when we go ahead. Have you seen the footage from Comic-Con with Vanessa? This I'll show you after we get off the air. Anyways, that'll all be tomorrow night. You can go ahead and catch
Thank
that
you,
tomorrow
SCG.
night. Yeah, no, yes. I'm totally a nerd. But see, that's how I know what other nerds look like, because I see myself and go, you're me. Anyways, you can also catch me right after SummerSlam. I will be here anchoring the coverage of the SummerSlam post show with people. I don't know who. I've banned Mark Talks Wrestling because all he wants to do is talk about Gunther, and I don't want to listen to it. So I've banned Mark Talks Wrestling from doing the SummerSlam post show. I'm sure he'll still join us anyways because he has producer credentials, so I'm sure he'll be there. But join me and Astrid as we go ahead and try to handle Mark Talks Wrestling as we talk all things SummerSlam, because it's going to be a great show. I'm very excited for it. We do still need to go ahead and do the Ant-Man MCU Rebound episode, so expect that in the near future. We also have a Deadpool 1 MCU Rebound going to do something going on soon. That was supposed to be next Wednesday. I don't know if that's going to happen as scheduled. We'll let you know more. SCG says, you two are just fine. Don't need anybody else. I love Mark Talks Wrestling. I love Mark. Mark's great. But I really don't want to hear him gushing about Gunther for 45 minutes. How many times, what's the record we've bailed Mark out of a show? Like, how many times have we booted Mark from a show? Because I have a feeling we're gonna eclipse that record on Saturday if Gunther wins. By the way, if Damian Priest wins that match, I am going to be so happy. Not because Damian Priest won. I could care less if Damian Priest wins or loses. But the fact that Gunther loses, I'll be so happy.
If he wins, I don't know if I'll be alive. We'll see.
He wins. Seth is there. And of course, remember that you can go ahead and if you're buying any merch on WWEshop.com for the SummerSlam weekend, you can go ahead and use this QR code right here to go ahead and get a little bit of kickback to Astrid. You get the same great deals, the same great prices on anything on the shop, but a little bit of that money that you pay WWE goes back to Astrid to go ahead and fund the Canva that we do all of the great work here, as well as the StreamYard, all kinds of other good stuff for Astrid. You can also go ahead and buy her t-shirt so you can give her more money. Go ahead and buy this t-shirt, a lovely, fantastic t-shirt. If she only had it in a big enough size, I'd buy one. So, but for some of you smaller individuals, you can go ahead and get this lovely t-shirt as modeled by the wonderful Mike the Ref or the lovely Mel. We haven't seen Mel here tonight, but just because in case she does watch it on catch up. Here you go, Mel. Here's Eddie Thorpe. He was on the show tonight, but here he is. Oh, Eddie Thorpe news. We have to check on Mel. That's probably why she's not here. She's probably still in mourning. Finding out about Eddie Thorpe and Dakota Kai being a couple. She's still in mourning.
I sent it to her.
We shouldn't have sent it to her. We should have gotten her her reaction on video. All right, everybody. We had a great time. Remember, the D'Angelo family is Tony D'Angelo and crew, not this D'Angelo family. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.